You cannot just print more of it.
True. But it's encrypted. And once encryption is tackled, the ability to hold on to it and to acquire mass resources and hoard those resources. Like, this is the question that people always have with poor people. Well, this guy's got, $500 billion. Why doesn't he give it all to the world and then everybody be rich? I've actually saw that on CNN, which is really hilarious. Someone was talking about Elon Musk, that if Elon Musk could give everyone in this country $1 million and still have billions left over. I'm like, do you have a calculator on your phone, you fucking idiot? Just go do that. Just write it out on your phone. You're like, oh, no, he couldn't. Sorry.
And if
I
you
shouldn't have
did,
said
it would
that.
just cause hyperinflation. That's
Well,
all
not
you would
only that,
accomplish.
you'd have 300 million lottery winners that would blow the money instantaneously. You give everybody $1 million, you're not going to solve all the world's problems because it's not sustainable. You would just completely elevate your spending, and you would go crazy, and you wouldn't. Money would lose all value to you. It would be very strange, and then it would be chaos. Just like it's chaos with, like, if you look at the history of people that win the lottery, then no one does well. It's almost like a curse to win the lottery.
They're not used to dealing with it.
Right.
People abuse them.
Right.
If you gradually become rich and famous, you kind of know how to handle it, how to say no.
Yeah.
If you go from nothing to a large amount of money, it's not going to work out well.
Gradually is the word, right? I was very fortunate that I became famous and wealthy very slowly, like a trickle effect. And that it happened to me really where I didn't want it. It was kind of almost like an accident. I just wanted to be a working professional comedian, but then all of a sudden I got a development deal to be on television. I'm like, okay, they're going to give me that money. I'll go do it. But it wasn't a goal. And then that led to all these things. Then it led to this podcast, which was just for fun. I was like, oh, this would be fun. And then all of a sudden it's like I'm having conversations with world leaders, and I'm turning down a lot of them because I don't want to talk to them.
So it's your simulation, basically.
Yeah, well, my simulation is fucking weird. It's weird. But through whatever this process is, I have been able to understand what's valuable as a human being and to not get caught up in this bizarre game that a lot of people are getting caught up in because they're chasing this thing that they think is impossible to achieve. And then once they achieve a certain aspect of it, a certain number, then they're terrified of losing that. So then they change all of their behavior in order to make sure that this continues. And then it ruins the whole purpose of getting there in the first place. It's not fun.
Yep. Most people start poor, then they get to middle class, and they think that change in quality of life is because of money, and it will scale to the next level.
Right.
And you hit a point where you can only eat so many steaks. It just doesn't scale.
Right, then you go Elvis, and you just get on pills all day and get crazy and, completely ruin your life. And that happens to most, especially people that get wealthy and not just wealthy, but famous too. Fame is the big one because I've seen that happen to a lot of people that accidentally became famous along the way. Certain public intellectuals that took a stance against something, and then all of a sudden they're prominent in the public eye, and then you watch them kind of go crazy. Well, why is that? Well, it's because they're reading social media and they're interacting with people constantly, and they're just trapped in this very bizarre version of themselves that other people have sort of created. It's not really who they are, and they don't meditate. They don't spend. If they do, they're not good at it. Whatever they're doing, they're not doing it correctly because it's a very complicated problem to solve. Like what do you do when the whole world is watching? Like, how do you handle that? And how do you maintain any sense of personal sovereignty? How do you just be? How do you just be a human, normal human, when you're not normal? Like, on paper, it's impossible.
It's hard. You can't go to a public place with no security. You're worried about your kids being kidnapped. There's all those issues you don't think about. I want to be famous. It's going to be great for me. And you don't realize it's going to take away a lot.
Yeah, it just gets super weird. And that's the version of the simulation that a giant portion of our society is struggling to achieve. They all want to be a part of that.
Yeah. So I was always a Z-list celebrity. Now I'm this Y-list celebrity thanks to you. Hopefully it doesn't change anything.
Yeah. Well, there's a difference, right, with public intellectuals, right? Because your ideas, as controversial as they may be, are very valid and they're very interesting. And so then it sparks discourse and it sparks a lot of people that feel voiceless because they disagree with you and they want to attack you. And I'm sure you've had that, right?
I just did a large Russian language podcast. Maybe, I don't know, 500,000 views, 3 million comments. I think 95% negative comments. I never had anything like that. And they hated everything about me, from my beard to my haircut. To, like, there wasn't a thing they didn't like. And I think I'm at the point where I don't care. It's fine. I analyzed it and I understood that they as a group didn't have access to cutting edge AI models. And so everything I was saying was kind of like complete bullshit to them. So I think that makes a difference. But still, just like this idea that internet comments impact you in some way is a problem for many people.
It's a very big problem for a lot of people. Well, it's also this thing where the human mind is designed to recognize and pay very close attention to threats. So the negative ones are the ones that stand out. You could have 100 positive comments, one negative one, and that's the one that fucks with your head. Mm-hmm. You don't logically look at it, well, you're going to get a certain amount. You know, like we were having a conversation the other day about protests and like the type of people that go to protests. And I understand protests. I fully support your right to protest, but I'm not going. And one of the reasons why I'm not going is because I think it's too close biologically to war. There's something about being on the ground and everyone having like this group mentality. It's a mob mentality. And you're all chanting and screaming together and you're marching, and people do like very irrational things that way. But the type of people that want to be engaged in that, generally speaking, aren't doing well. If you get like the number of people that are involved in protests is always proportionate to the amount of people that live in a city, right? That's logical. But also proportionate to the amount of fucking idiots that are in a city. Because if you look at a city of like Austin, Austin has, I think, roughly 2 million people in the greater Austin area. One of the more recent protests was 20,000. Well, that makes perfect sense if you look at the number that I always use, which is 1 out of 100. Meet 100 people if you're a charitable person. What are the odds that one person is a fucking idiot? 100%. At least one person out of 100 is going to be a fucking idiot. That's 20,000 out of 2 million. There it is. Perfect number.
Exactly.
Exact number of people that are on the streets lighting Waymos on fire, which, by the way, I think is directionally correct. Lighting the Waymos on fire, I think you should probably be worried about the robots taking over.
It's interesting you brought it up. There is at least 2 groups, Pause AI and Stop AI, which are heavily engaged in protests, trying to shut down OpenAI, other labs. They're tiny, small numbers. But I never was sure that the impression average people get of them is positive for the cause. Then I see protesters block roads, do things. I don't usually have very positive impression of that.
No.
And I'm concerned that it's the same here. So maybe they can do a lot in terms of political influence, calling senators, whatnot, but just this type of aggressive activism may backfire.
Well, the aggressive activism, like blocking roads for climate change, is the most infuriating because it's these self-righteous people that have really fucked up, confused, chaotic lives, and all of a sudden they found a purpose, and their purpose is to lie down on the roads and hold up a sign to block climate change when there's a mother trying to give birth to her child and is freaking out because they're stuck in this fucking traffic jam because of this entitled little shithead that thinks that it's a good idea to block the road for climate change, which just makes no fucking sense. You're literally causing all these people to idle their cars and pollute even more. It's the dumbest fucking shit on earth.
And of course, AI cancels that problem. Either we're dead or it solves it for us. So it doesn't even matter if you boil in 100 years.
Or you get Florida where it tells you to just run those people over.
No comment.
No comment. I mean, I don't think you should run those people over, but I get it. It's like in Florida, they get out of the way as soon as the light turns green. They block the road when the light is red.
Does the stand your ground law cancel it out? How does that work?
For the people on the road, no, they're fucked.
I'm joking.
They get run over. It's true. There was a recent protest in Florida where they had that, where these people would get out in the middle of the road while the light was red, hold up their signs, and then as soon as the light turned yellow on the green side, they'd fucking get out of the road real quick because they know the law. Which is, I don't know if that's a solution, but they're doing it on the highways in Los Angeles. They did it all through the George Floyd protests. They do it for climate protests. They do it for whenever the chance they get to be significant. Like, I am being heard. You know, my voice is meaningful. And that's what it is. It's a lot of people that just don't feel heard. And what better way than just to get in the way of all these people? And somehow or another, that gives them some sort of value.
But there is some set of forms of activism which has positive impact, and historically we saw it happen. So we just need to find a way to project those voices, amplify them, which is very hard with our current system of social media where everyone screams at the same time.
Yes.
And so like in Soviet Union, they said, no one's allowed to say anything, and they suppressed you. And here it's like, everyone can say something at the same time, go, and nobody hears you anyways.
It's chaotic, but it's preferable. It's preferable because I think there is progress in all these voices slowly making a difference. But then you have the problem with giant percentage of these voices are artificial. A giant percentage of these voices are bots or are at least state actors that are being paid to say certain things and inflammatory responses to people, which is probably also the case with anti-AI activism. You know, I mean, when you did this podcast, what was the thing that they were upset at you for? Like with the mostly negative comments?
I think they just like saying negative comments. It wasn't even anything specific. Like they didn't say I was wrong or I was just like, oh, look at his stupid beard. What a moron. Okay.
It was really all that? Just
a lot of that. And then they would pick on some like specific example I used. This is now 2 years old. What an old example. But
well, that's also a thing about the 1 out of 100. You know, those are the type of people that leave. Have you ever left any comments on social media? Or on
never going to engage
comments?
in anything. Yeah,
exactly. That's why.
That's not how you use social media. That's a way to get crazy.
Right. So
you post your interviews, you post an occasional joke. That's all you do with it.
Yes, exactly. That's the thing. And the type of people that do engage in these like prolonged arguments, they're generally mentally ill. And people that I personally know that are mentally ill, that are on Twitter 12 hours a day, just constantly posting inflammatory things and yelling at people and starting arguments. And I know them. I know they're a mess. Like, these are like personal people that I've met, even people that I've had on the podcast. I know they're ill. And yet they're on there all day long, just stoking the fires of chaos in their own brain.
Yeah, and now they talk to AI models who are trained to support them and be like, yep, you're making some good arguments there. Let's email Dr. Yampolsky to help break me out. I get those emails, yep.
Yeah, it's super confusing, isn't it? I mean, and I wonder, like, what's the next version of that? You know, because social media in the current state is less than 20 years old, essentially. Maybe let's be generous and say it's 20 years old. That's so recent. Such a recent factor in human discourse.
Neuralink, direct brain spam, hacking.
That's what I was going to get to next. Because if there is a way that the human race does make it out of this, my fear is that it's integration. My fear is that we stop being a human. And that the only real way for us to not be a threat is to be one of them. And when you think about human-computer interfaces, whether it's Neuralink or any of the competing products that they're developing right now, that seems to be sort of the only biological pathway forward with our limited capacity for disseminating information and for communicating and even understanding concepts. Well, what's the best way to enhance that? The best way to enhance that is some sort of artificial injection, because biological evolution is very slow. It's very slow. We're essentially the exact same as that gentleman, that 9,000 years old. He's biologically essentially the same thing. You could take his ancestor dress him up, take him to the mall. No one would know. Cut his hair.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, maybe not. I mean, look at you.
I think babies born back then, if we raised them today, would be exactly like modern
Yes.
humans. I don't think there is significant biological change in that time frame.
And if you gave them a standard American diet, they'd probably be just as fat. It's like they'd look
Maybe fatter. They haven't adapted to that level of fat-colored food.
Right. They probably also wouldn't be able to say no to it. They wouldn't even
Why
understand.
would they? Like, winter's coming. Like, I'm
Right.
fattening
Right.
up for winter. You
Right.
crazy people, you got all this resource here.
I know. The people with the most resources have zero fat. Like, what are you, stupid? You need to fatten up. Like, you're going to need something to survive off of. But biological evolution being so painstakingly slow, whereas technological evolution is so breathtakingly fast. The only way to really survive is to integrate.
What are you contributing in that equation? What can you give superintelligence?
You can't give anything to it, but you can become it. You can become a part of it.
But
It's not
then-
that you're going to give anything to it, but you have to catch it and become one of it before it has no use for you.
You disappear in it, right?
Yes. Yeah, you don't exist anymore.
Right.
For sure.
So it's
But-
like extinction with extra steps.
Exactly.
Okay.
Extinction with extra steps, and then we become like if you could go to Australopithecus and say, hey man, one day you're going to be flying through the sky on your phone all day watching TikTok on Wi-Fi, it'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, you're going to be eating terrible food, and you're just going to be flying around, and you're going to be staring at your phone all day, and you're going to take medication to go to sleep because you're not going to be able to sleep, and you're going to be super depressed because you're living this like biologically incompatible life that's not really designed for your genetics. So you're going to be all fucked up. So you're going to need SSRIs and a bunch of other stuff in order to exist. It'd be like, no thanks.
Right.
I'll just stay out here with my stone tools, and you guys are idiots.
No, Amish, that's what they decided. They kind of went, we don't like the change. We like our social structure. We still benefit from your hospitals and an occasional
Yeah.
car ride, but we're not going to destroy our quality of life.
They might be onto something because they also have very low instances of autism. But it's also like, have you ever see Werner Herzog's film Happy People?
I don't think I have.
It's a film about people in Siberia. It's Life in the Taiga. And it's all Happy People, Life in the Taiga is the name of the documentary. And it's all about these trappers that live this subsistence lifestyle and how happy they are. They're all just joyful, laughing and singing and drinking vodka and having a good time and hanging out with their dogs. And
I think I know some people like that. This is,
Yeah. But like biologically, that's compatible with us. Like that's like whatever human reward systems have evolved over the past 400,000 plus years or whatever we've been Homo sapiens, that seems to be like biologically compatible with this sort of harmony with nature, harmony with our existence, and everything else outside of that. When you get into big cities, like the bigger the city, the more depressed people you have, and more depressed people by population, which is really weird. It's really weird that as we progress, we become less happy.
Connections become less valuable.
Yes.
In a village, you had like this one friend, and if you screwed it up, you never got a second friend. And here it's like I can try a million times, and there is plenty of people in New York City for dating or for friendship. They're not valuable.
Not just that, you don't know your neighbors. Like my friend Jim was telling me, he doesn't know anybody in his apartment. He lives in an apartment building. It's like 50 stories high. There's all these people living in that apartment building. He doesn't know any of them.
And the ones you know, they have different culture. They read different books, watch different TV. You have very little in common with your neighbor.
But not just that. There's no desire to learn about them. You don't think of them as your neighbor. Like, if you live in a small town, your neighbor's either your friend or you hate them, and then you move. If you're smart, you move. But if normally you like them. Like, hey, neighbor, how are you, buddy? What's going on? Nice to meet you. And then you got a friend. But you don't like that with the guy next door to you in the apartment. You don't even want to know that guy.
It's probably Airbnb. So
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Right. Which is even weirder. They don't even live there. They're just temporarily sleeping in this spot right next to you. Yeah. So this would motivate people to integrate. You're not happy already? Get that Neuralink. Get that little thing in your head.
Everyone else is doing it. You want to be competitive.
Everyone else is doing it. Listen, they have the new one you just wear on your head. It's just a little helmet you wear. You don't even have to get the operation anymore. Oh, that's good because I almost got the operation. Well, glad you waited. You know? Do you worry about that kind of stuff?
I worry about giving direct access to human brain to AI. I feel like it's a backdoor to our consciousness, to our pain and suffering centers. So I don't recommend doing that. If somebody hacks it, it's pretty bad. But if AI itself wants that access.
But why would it be motivated to give us pain and suffering? Pain and suffering is like a theme that you bring up a lot.
Because it's really the worst outcome and it's the only thing that matters.
The only thing that matters to us. But why would it matter to AI if it could just integrate with us and communicate with us and have harmony? Why would it want pain and suffering?
So short term, it's not AI, it's a hacker who got access to your brain.
Short term. Right, so another
so
human
right
being.
now somebody hacks your Neuralink and starts doing things to your brain.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Long term, again, unpredictable effects. Maybe it does something else and the side effect of it is unpleasant for you. Maybe it's retraining you for something, controlling you. It seems like we always worry about privacy, but this is like the ultimate violation of privacy. It can read directly what you're thinking. It's thought crime at its worst. Like it immediately knows that you don't like the dictator.
Right, and then there's also this sort of compliance by virtue of like understanding that you're vulnerable, so you just comply because there is no privacy, because it does have access to your thoughts. So you tailor your thoughts in order for you to be safe and so that you don't feel the pain and suffering.
We don't have any experimental evidence on how it changes you. You may start thinking in certain ways to avoid being punished or modified.
And we know that that's the case with social media. We know that attacks on people through social media will change your behavior and change the way you communicate.
Absolutely. I mean, most people look at their post before posting and go like, should I be posting this?
Exactly.
Filtering, and not because it's illegal or inappropriate, but just like every conceivable misinterpretation of what I want to say, like in some bizarre language that means something else. Let me make sure Google doesn't think that.
Right. Right, of course. And then there's also, no matter what you say, people are going to find the least charitable version of what you're saying and